the whole management of Caltrans needs to be evaluated in terms of, is this the best model for delivering transportation projects in California?
I think for the most part, the reason these type of things happen at Caltrans is because it's gotten too big. It's such a large agency, accountability is sometimes difficult, and management controls are somehow not necessarily applied across the board. And so staff is able to do a lot of things that maybe the private sector wouldn't be able to do. A private sector firm would be held more accountable if they were doing this type of work. Test results would certainly be reviewed more thoroughly and examined and corrective measures implemented if the test data was showed that there were in fact some problems with the test results.
First of all, Caltrans is very difficult to manage. It's huge. It has 22,000 employees. It's far larger than any other state department of transportation, which we call a DOT, in the nation. And also the employees are protected by a gazillion rules that have developed over the years and by public employee unions that protect their members. So this has all led to a lack of accountability. It's very difficult to manage Caltrans. The state auditor did a big study on Caltrans and found that Caltrans doesn't even keep accurate time records of what projects its employees are working on. Well, that would be intolerable in the private sector. You couldn't manage a business without that data. And yet the state auditor found that Caltrans was missing time records, or they were inaccurate or not kept. It was really an awful revelation. And if they can't even maintain time records, how do we know that they're able to identify and find false data that's buried in their reports?
When you start looking at the numbers and also look at how it's managed, it just makes it very difficult to account for exactly what everyone is doing. The state auditor's office did a study very recently, and they indicated that in some situations timesheets are not completed. There's no way to actually even determine how many hours is actually put into a particular project, just because of the accounting procedures and methods that are being used. So, you know, it's very difficult to manage such a large agency in contrast with other state DOTs. The Legislative Analyst's Office also determined that Caltrans is overstaffed by 1,500 people at the moment. Actually, it's about a year old at this point, but 1,500 employees, equating that to roughly $200 million that could be directly used for transportation projects, as opposed to keeping staff that's unnecessary. Caltrans staff, most belong to a public employees union, making it very difficult to trim staff. A lot of times they're just reassigned. We talk about reassignment, not necessarily the individual involved in this particular instance, but we have design staff that's being utilized for inspection, where they don't have really any business in being involved in the inspection or construction management process, because their expertise is in design, or their specialty is in design, not in inspections. So that is a problem. It's about time that Caltrans looked at cutting the overstaffing that they have right now, and look towards other ways of keeping transportation infrastructure projects moving forward by using private sector firms that have more accountability.
Well, there has to be major changes at Caltrans. Bring it into the modern era. Follow the lead of other DOTs which have learned that with that slimmed down model of high-level management and using accountable firms to actually do day-to-day work, they can get the job done faster, cheaper. They don't have the long-term pension costs and all the rest that go with state employees. it's a much more effective model. There's also other new project delivery techniques that Caltrans really is way behind in using, such as design build and public-private partnerships. We need to ramp that up. And in the area of transportation is a great candidate for realignment. We already have self-help counties delivering with using local revenue most of the projects that motorists and transit riders see today when they travel. And they have a great record, the self-help counties do. Let's give them more power, more money to get the job done.